the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
I don't want to lose. I want to win.
I need professional help.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sports Betting Weekly, sponsored by EasySportsData.com. The books use data, shouldn't you too? And this is easy sports data, like the preschoolers use. EasySportsData.com.
I win here and I win there. Now what?
Sports Betting Weekly.
I want to win.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Money talk. Here comes the money.
You should also check out SportsBettingLessons.com. You'll learn some old tricks because sometimes how you bet is more important than who you bet. SportsBettingLessons.com.
Let's just do it. Let's meet this thing head on. And you were in it to win it. Talk about an education.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Wow, winning.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Sports Betting Weekly, but technically it might just be John from GMF Sports Consultants and Blackhawk West from 151 Sports Investing, because we're getting an error, and I just got hit up from Speedy saying that wait until another video ends, show going on right now before starting. I'll text you. I have no idea what that means. So we're not going to much worry about it. I'm assuming this thing is recording anyway. So that's kind of what we're doing. Now, remember, our biggest thing is that I ended up getting the cash for that first half, Wes, on the game that you were ahead of me on. Yeah. All right, so it looks like somebody else is on. What's up with that? I'm going to say, what's up with that? What's up with that? And I'm going to question her. So I sent a tersely worded text to New York, to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, where I said, what's up with that? Because it's 5 o'clock. If they can't hear us, they can't cash in live action.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure I'm not off base in saying that, right? All right. So speaking of
be able to hear the plays,
we're going to do. We're going to start right away with live action. Then we'll figure out what we're doing for the show. So I always start with you guys and see what you're on that we could hop on in terms of live action. So let's start with Black Hawk West. Now, you had mentioned a hockey game earlier, but technically that hasn't started yet, correct?
No, it'll start here momentarily. I think we're finding a nice system play in this hockey, and for the listeners out there, system play is when you just, if this happens and that happens, I bet this, and it's just kind of automatic. It has nothing to do with a line that you happen to read or anything you broke down. It's not. So what we found yesterday was we were able to really capitalize off of a never started in the NHL goalie. And he got beat up pretty good last night. And so we found another one. St. Louis is starting a goalie that has yet to have an NHL start. He's made appearances. He's done well in the minors. But St. Louis has used about 4 goalies this year. So we're jumping on the other side. We're jumping on Detroit for the first period over a half a point. This is minus 130. That is a really good line for a P1 over. And then I'm looking at over 2.5 for the game. I don't care if Detroit wins the game or not. I just like their chances of being able to hang 3 goals on a rook.
Yeah, and again, last night the goals were, the over 9.5 cash, for heaven's sakes.
And those are the best ones where you don't even have to think about it. And at that point, you cash this, you cash that. Well, let's put half of that profit back on this, and then that cashes too. And those are the best kind of hockey games to be cashing on.
And again, but that first hit is so key because you're guaranteed a winner, even if it's $5. Okay, if you got you do 50 here and then 35 here, and you get the vig and stuff, and that you end up hitting the first one. The worst you're going to do is win $5. And guess what? If that's the worst you're ever going to do in sports betting, you'll take that all day long because we make 40 or 50 plays a day. $5 each time is a lot of money, and that's a pretty darn quick. All right, so let's talk to John from GMF Sports Consultants in terms of live action. Now, you mentioned the basketball game that also hasn't started yet, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we're all over Iowa later tonight. The game starts in about an hour. we're pretty heavy on them. I just like their offense, the way they're playing. It's going to be a tough matchup. They're obviously playing Iowa State, little in-state rivalry. Their defenses are very similar as far as stats and numbers and everything that goes. But I just give the edge, the way more advantage towards Iowa in this matchup here. I just like how they're playing this year. They really haven't, lost a step even with missing some key pieces from last year that they had. So we're going to be over Iowa. And then something that I just looked at, I hate rooting for boring games, especially on Thursday night. And man, let me tell you, these Thursday night games, I don't know how many times you heard us say it, that these are pretty boring. But I'm actually going to go for the Pittsburgh Steelers first half team total over 9.5. It should be about minus 125 on that. I'm going to go. Let's be honest, Minnesota doesn't really have much of a defense. I mean, they lost to the Detroit Lions last week, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, they're Lions. So we're going to go ahead and just lay that. Minus 125. I think the Steelers can put up points against Minnesota. Minnesota's also missing some pieces on the offensive end. So I like that play. I'll throw that in there for some in-game opportunities that's coming up quicker than the Iowas.
Thursday nights have been for a while just ugly games.
Yep.
Let me see here because I just got another text.
I like that Steelers call, John. And I tell you, I like the Steelers now more that Ben is announced his retirement because they know where they stand. And they appeared last week. They just looked like they were playing harder for him. There's no secrets. Like I like the Steelers now that they know he's done for.
I totally agree. I think he's obviously going to get a push from the players that maybe wasn't supporting him. But now, regardless of whether they were behind him before or not, they're going to want to do that for that guy, come down the stretch here. And let's be honest, if they can put off a couple good wins here, they're going to be right back in the playoff hunt again. So what's a better way than to send Big Ben off, going into the playoffs, give him a shot, in that opportunity. So you got to love it. Yeah, I like that. I like the position here. Normally I'm not a big Steelers fan. They kind of let me down in spots before, but I like them here tonight. And obviously moving forward, I think I'm going to be a big fan of theirs going forward. Almost kind of like must-win games.
That's the way you guys are seeing it. Then I got to hop on the over because well, here's why Minnesota scores at home. They score points.
Yeah.
And so it's not it's Thursday night football and the over is 40 something. So it doesn't take much when an over's 40 something to have an over. My other play is I'm going to stick with this Purdue game. Because I have Purdue minus 5.5 in live action, but it's now 9.5 for the second half, but they're losing.
Wow.
I won. So that's technically, they got to win by 9. I only got them to win by 6. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to create a parlay as we speak. Now, this is a live action parlay, but it's not really live action, right? Because the games have already started. I've got the second half of the Purdue game, and I'm going to parlay it with the first half of the Thursday night game because you got the first half Pittsburgh team total over, right?
Pittsburgh team total over, 9.5. It should be. Last time I looked, yep.
And so I've got Purdue minus 9.5. There's your 9.5.
I like that. That's
over
the signs.
1.5. The team, the whole game over 21.5. And I'm putting that in now. And we don't really do that a lot, but it's a weird time of year with college basketball. There's games on early on a Thursday. Normally we don't get them sometimes of the year. All right, and so the only other bet I didn't get in on Wes's play was that first period over for Detroit because it wasn't an option on the book that I'm using. And the book that I'm using is the one I have money in. That's kind of how I work. I don't always have money in all my accounts, even though one of the guys I talked to, they're coming out with this product where you could hook up all your books to one wallet. And so if you got money in your account, you could, if you got maybe it's minus 130 on Bovada and it's minus 115 on, you wager or a Jazz Sports has a different line, whatever the case may be. As you know, in some sporting events, between 6.5 and 7 is a big difference in not only your number, but in your points, in your vig. So that's a pretty cool thing. I don't have that yet. So I'm sitting around waiting for this Detroit game to open up for me so I can bet that Detroit first period over. And I had this happen with soccer a lot. doesn't always mean it opens before that first goal, Wes. So all you do is cross your fingers. But it isn't enough action for me to put money in another book because I had a pretty good last couple of weeks. I'm still playing with the same money I put in like Veterans Day. You know what I mean? So what we're doing is looking at the next thing we're looking at is what we've got going on. Now, we have some UFC 269. I'm pretty sure that neither of you on the show have ever talked UFC with me, right? I think we have talked it on the show, but not with you two. Is that correct, John? Do you ever talk UFC?
Yeah, I maybe for a random Conor McGregor fight, a high marquee fight, but normally I just don't follow it. I don't personally don't bet it. I might throw a couple dollars from lunch money on a play if I'm at a party where they have the UFC pay-per-view on. Right. But yeah, I normally don't bet it, tend to stay away from it. Like I said, I don't follow it. So that's my golden rule. If I don't follow it, I don't bet it.
Yeah, no, and it's the same thing with me. If the guys are saying, hey, we're going out to the beach to watch the fight, you want to come? I'll go just to hang out with the guys. Yeah. And I'll have some. And I've had some great conversations and some great plays where we've won some money. And as you know, betting on human beings in a small area of confinement and where they're beating each other severely until one of them cannot fight anymore sometimes doesn't take long. I won that fight where the girl came and run into the middle and kneed the other girl in the head. It was like, I think it might have been Nunes, and she's fighting Amanda. She's fighting this weekend. I forget who it was. It was like a 12-second fight, and it was actually fastest score of my career because my other one was when the Colts guy took the Devin Hester took the kickoff back in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, the Chicago Bears, right?
Keynote on that, and I don't remember.
Bears Colts, right?
All right, so that's where we're at. I'm sitting around waiting for Detroit. I've got Pittsburgh, I got Purdue, and the only thing I don't have is Iowa, right? So I got to put that down because that's John's plays. Iowa. Did you have one other play, Wes, besides that Detroit game, or was that it?
I'm looking at the Jets later. They're at Seattle, and I there's a lot of value in that play. I think.
We could do a Winnipeg parlay.
We could do a Winnipeg parlay, and laying the 1.5 is where I'm leaning. It's a plus 205 pay, and I like the play. I'm not there yet. It's bankroll management and how we do now, where I lay the units. But at plus 205, that's a win that pays like 2.
So we're going to talk some college football just really briefly though, because I have no opinion. I do believe that they should have more than 4 teams. I don't care who's in it. I bet whoever is playing, so I don't control. I'm not in the committee room. But I also want to talk Army Navy because if you've not really got into an Army Navy game, no matter how poor the teams are, the spectacle and the world that these kids live in is such a different world than what we see normally on Saturdays with college football. Like the NILs, right? The NILs. Think about that for an Army Navy player. They're up at 6:00 in the morning. They've got to do stuff before they can eat. They eat when they tell them to eat. They take classes that most people couldn't handle. Most student athletes could not handle these classes if they had 2 tutors. For most schools. I mean, I'd be willing to say it's probably 75% because I've known a few Division I athletes, and to say they get help with their studies is an understatement, And then, of course, we're going to do the video. So let's do this. Let's go right now, and we'll start with that first fight. So this is Harrison Hughes. He's on Instagram at the Combat Complex. We'll post that up here a little bit, but let's see what he says. There's 3 fights we're covering Saturday night.
Nice.
Let's go out to talk to Harrison. Now, Harrison, as you know, I haven't talked UFC on a show in a long, long time. We're going to talk 269. We're going to cover 3 fights. The first fight, we got Dan and Josh fighting about 9:25 Eastern time. Dan's the underdog. Why can he win?
Dan Ige is a durable fighter, and he's what I would call a dog. He's good at fighting through adversity, and he's a capable grappler, and he's a capable puncher. He doesn't really have one-punch power in his hands, but he's willing to get dirty to win a fight. And what I mean by that is he's willing to close the distance, he's willing to engage in the clinch, and he's willing to wrestle, and he's willing to stall fights. And what that means is he'll get someone up against the cage and hold them there. Additionally, Dan Ige gone the distance against greater opposition in his last 2 fights. I believe both those fights went 5 rounds. So when we look at a 3-round fight, I'm comfortable picking Dan Ige to at least make it the distance.
All right, so Josh is the favorite. Why should he win?
He's a slow plodding fighter, but he has great power in his hands, and he's equally capable as grappling as Dan Ige. Personally, I think he's going to take control of the cage a little bit more than Dan Ige and have Dan Ige on his back foot. So I also think Dan Ige will have to respect Josh Emmett's power a little bit more. So in that sense, I think Josh can impose his will on Ige and force grappling exchanges.
What's your bet?
I'm going with Josh Emmett by decision. I think this fight goes all 3 rounds. It's going to be very competitive. It's going to be close, but I think Josh Emmett edges it out. But the play here is that the fight goes at least 2 rounds because of Ige's durability and Josh Emmett's durability. Both guys can take a punch, and both guys don't mind fighting through adversity.
All right, so that's the play, over 2 rounds. We'll talk to you again soon. I met Harrison through Sports Betting Weekly, and you know what? We talked about having a show, and you know, with the holidays coming up, it was crazy. I said, you know what? Here's the thing. I looked ahead, and this is like in October. I looked ahead, and I said, you know what? The beginning of December, 269. Let's do that one. And so I'm excited, and I'm going to take his plays, and I'm going to put in some type of a parlay with it. I will figure it out. But most of the time when I talk to you guys, whether we're recording or doing it live, I'm in the moment, so I'm not really sitting there taking notes. But I'm telling you right now, I've always said this from the beginning on our show. We're going on 8 years now. Write this stuff down. Get a pen and paper. Use your phone. Type. Do whatever you got to do because we give out so many winners. And I laugh because Black Hawk West made a comment. I don't know if you saw that, John, about could we start the show telling everybody how I liked Alabama last week. And I thought to myself, if we started the show with all the winners we gave out the week before, that would be the show.
That would be the show.
We wouldn't have any time to give out any new winners.
That's right.
All right, so I'm going to give an update here on the hockey game. And so right now it's still no score, and they're about 4 minutes into the game. I still don't have any opportunity to bet that game, so I'm going to sit tight and just hope that you know what I've noticed less hockey. Right about that 9 or 10 minute mark is when things open up a little bit in that first period.
Yeah, it does, and this is mellow. They're feeling each other out. There's only been one shot on goal by either side, and the Blues have taken that shot. So it'll get there. And these are 2 teams that hate each other. So we may see gloves drop before we see a goal scored.
Oh, well, speaking of gloves drop, for all our hockey fans that are bettors but not really knowing the game, what's up when 2 guys fight but it's not 4-on-4? What explain that to me. Did you freeze up on me, John?
I still got you.
Yeah, do you know that what happened the other night? There was a fight. They both went in the penalty box, but they stayed 5-on-5.
Really? Yeah, I'm not sure about that, to be quite honest with you.
Are you back, Wes?
Yeah. Oh.
We lost him.
Right. Yeah.
So
Wes would probably know. Yeah.
And again, if you don't understand why I go to Black Hawk West with my hockey questions, it's because Black Hawk West is Black Hawk West. Black Hawk.
Exactly. Yeah. Name says it all.
Rocket science. All right. So where are we at? We've got our first UFC fight pick.
Yep.
We're going to come back from break. We're going to talk some Army Navy. We're going to talk the circuit contest for you guys. And what else? You know what? We're going to just check on some live action. We're going to do what we got to do. You're listening to Sports Betting Weekly.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
You keep lying when you ought to be truthing. And you keep losing when you ought to not bet.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. I am Second F Chaz. We are joined by John from GMF Sports Consultants and Black Hawk West from 151 Sports Investing. So if it's about 20 after 8, wherever you are, look at New York. If it's 20 after 8 in New York, you're going to cash some tickets. We know you're going to cash tickets. We just don't know where yet. So let's do this before we go check on 3 or 4 sports that we've got some plays on. Let's get back to Blackhawk West so he can explain to me why when you don't play nice in hockey and they send 2 guys to the penalty box, 2 other guys get to come in for them. What's up with that rule? I don't like it. I don't like it.
Well, it's a coincidental penalty. So they keep both teams at full strength rather than letting them go 4-on-4. So, I mean, that's really all that's happening. Now, there's some cases where there's instigating or unsportsmanlike that comes on top of the fighting penalty against one player where one team would end up down. But, I mean, it's a coincidental penalty. It's 2 guys agreeing to drop the gloves and throw some hands at each other. But the one that a lot of people don't realize is when it's 3-on-3 in overtime and there's a penalty, the opposite team gets an additional guy rather than going to 3-on-2. A lot of people don't know that one.
I did not know that.
Yep. They'll bring a 4th guy out for the other team.
Don't watch enough hockey to see enough overtimes. I would imagine there's not that, it's a lot different. With that 3-on-3 is a whole different animal. It really is, it really is. All right, so let's look at where we're at. Let's look at John. Give us a recap on our football action.
We're just about to kick off for NFL right here. They're getting ready to warm up and do the kickoff here. So we'll probably update in a little bit.
You liked the Pittsburgh team total over.
Team total over for the first half. Yeah. So I'm on the first half team total, which is 9.5 at -120, -125-ish, depending on your book of choice. But that's where I'm at for the first half.
I saw that when I looked at the Easy Sports data. I sent both of you guys the files for not only Week 14, but for the Grey Cup, which we will cover here in a little bit with Blackhawk West. We are we saw that Minnesota scored points, so and I had no action on the game up until that point. I have no problem not betting these games because the opportunity is in live action, which like Ohio State last night was. That's all that was. I was just sitting there watching Christmas movies, scrolling up and down. Actually, we had a little basketball action on because my kids are hoops fans. And as you know, Curry's trying to beat the record. So we watched that. Talk about ugly basketball. That was as ugly as basketball.
He was trying too hard last night.
Well, yeah, there were 6 or 7 parts of the game where it was turnover. It was just ugly. It was ugly. However, they came back and they covered the second half for me as well. So those second halves, again, the reason I like him is because I know what's going on. There's not as much opportunity for guessing based on the past. You're saying, hey, this is the case. And how many times, guys, do we see a tale of 2 halves in every sport? Doesn't matter what the sport is. At halftime, one team is kicking ass. By the second half, it's a whole different ball game. All right, so Blackhawk in on those other plays we got.
Well, so St. Louis is on the board 1-0, but that doesn't really make a difference to us. We're playing points on Detroit. So
you are.
Yeah.
And I finally got that bet in. So I am on the that half a goal. I got it at -103.
That's a great line. So we're about 11 and a half minutes to go in the first. And Detroit
we remember, Wes, what happened last night. All right. I made a mistake last night. You said there's this kid that's going to get his butthole given to him in the hockey rink, and I didn't bet the over, and I should have. So I jumped on it late, but I didn't wait tonight. Tonight I jumped on the over. I figure if you got a guy that's going to get shell-shocked, you're going to get goals from both sides probably. So I am actually on that over 1.5 for the first period, and I think it's 6 for the game. And I don't mind having 6 and 6.5 because I always believe the higher the total in any sport, the better chance of it going over because they can only go so high. If they go 7.5, who's going to play that?
You're right, and something's going in. Detroit's got 7 shots on the board, and we're not even halfway through. I mean, they're on pace to have a pretty incredible game as far as shots go. They're on pace to shoot 40 shots in this game. Something's going in.
All right, so the Iowa game for John starts at 6. What time's that Winnipeg game start? 7?
That is 8 o'clock Central, so I believe that's 6 o'clock your time.
Okay, so both Iowa and Winnipeg games go off at 6. So that's a good segue. Let's do this. Let's go with first of all, I'm going to add this banner. I just made the banner for Harrison Hughes, who's helping us with some UFC 269 coverage. But before that, let's talk about, and after the words came out of my mouth, Blackhawk West, which was the Winnipeg parlay using the Jets tonight with the Grey Cup. I think I like Hamilton, so I'm going to just let you talk about the Grey Cup on Sunday. What I'm going to do is look at the Easy Sports data, and I'm going to solidify my bet while we listen.
Yeah, so I don't think you're crazy for liking Hamilton in the game. That's not my play, but Hamilton has had a very impressive couple games in the playoffs. And what we saw last week, we saw the Hamilton quarterback, Dane Evans, come out and go 16 of 16. He ran 2 touchdowns and he threw a touchdown. He also is not the quarterback that started the game. So when you look at their matchup against Toronto, they went into Toronto and Toronto had prepared for Jeremiah Masoli. 2 totally different quarterbacks. One quarterback that is run first. The other quarterback he's a true passer, at least CFL wise. When you look at Winnipeg, Zach Collaros threw 3 interceptions. The quarterback has only thrown 6 the entire season. So as we talked about last week, I thought Winnipeg might be rusty because it's been 3+ weeks, maybe a month since they played meaningful football. But their defense and their running game. Winnipeg has what's about to be a Hall of Fame running back, averaged over 5 yards a carry last week. The CFL, for a running back to get over 100 yards is a very big deal because you figure four running yards, in the NFL, that's pretty good. You rush it for 4, you rush it for 4, and you're going to get a first down every single time. In the CFL, you rush it for 4, then you do it on second down and you got to punt because there's only 3 downs. So I don't think that Winnipeg is going to turn the ball over 3 times. Their quarterback is probably hands down the MOP, the most outstanding player. And that Winnipeg defense is incredible. I think that what happened last week has created the 3 or 3.5 point spread Winnipeg. If they didn't get off to a slow start last week, we'd probably be looking at 4.5, maybe 5 points. When Collaros finally caught his rhythm, he completed the ball 17 completions to 7 different receivers. So he's spreading the ball out too. I think with a week to prepare, that Winnipeg defense is going to show up just like it did last week. And now you're looking at the league MOP. Hamilton's defense is playing great, so I don't think that you're in the wrong for leaning that way. Winnipeg's only losses this year have been in unmeaningful games, or their near falls have been when they're rusty. So I would be very angry with myself if I didn't lay 3 points. We've laid 10 on Winnipeg covered.
Yeah, so here's some of the stats from Winnipeg. In the first quarter, they're 1-5 in their last 6 against the spread, 0-4 on the road. This is against the spread. In their second half, what do we know, Wes? They win in the second half. They're 10-2 against the spread in the second half. They were 9 straight before they had a couple losses, and then, of course, last week they came back and covered. They're 1-5 for the game against the spread in their last 6, 0-3 in their last 3 on the road. The under in their games in the last 4 on the road is 0-3-1. So 3 unders in a push. Hamilton in the first quarter under 0-5-0, 2-11 in their last 13. So out of the last 13 games, 11 have gone over. Home, it's 1-7-0. They're half one. Their over is 2-11. So 2 overs, 11 unders out of 13. Last week, before that, it was over. But before that, it was 7 straight unders. Now, in the first half at home, they're 7-1 against the spread. For the game, they're 6-1 against the spread, 4-0 at home. And here's the one I like the most. They scored 23 points in 7 of 8 games. That's a pretty consistent run there. So at this point in time, if I was doing anything, I'd probably be leaning on the under.
Yeah, these are two very good defenses, so I think you're right leaning on the under there.
Just so hard betting unders.
And
man, it's hard.
It is, but there's no denying what you're talking about with Winnipeg in their last 6 games. But we got to take into consideration is 3 of their last 6 have been meaningless games. I'm sorry, 4 out of the last 6. Last week's game mattered, and they were rusty. But prior to that, you remember we were talking about them clinching somewhere around Halloween. We were talking about they've clinched already.
Well, they were the best team in the league all year, no doubt about that. I mean, I'm not arguing. SAS started out strong, but Winnipeg was consistent. I mean, think about it: 11-2, or 10-2 against the spread. I mean, in the second half, that'll get you a lot of W's.
Yeah, and the best part about this Grey Cup coming up is it's at 5:00 on Sunday, so it's like right in that slot where the NFL games are kind of coming to an end, or at least they're decided for the most part, and right before the primetime game.
All right, so let's look at our Army-Navy game. John, ever a big fan of the Army-Navy game in terms of wagering?
Not really wagering. I obviously like to watch it. It's kind of a classic game, you know, this time of the year. I probably won't have any significant amount of money on it, but I think this year I probably will play Army and then maybe throw a teaser in with Army and the under, especially the under. Historically, I think the last 15 games, if I remember the stat correctly, has gone under. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm leaning at.
I've got the last 3 right here: 10-17, 31-7 in a game that was 41.5, and 0-15. But I have a Christmas memory. We were wrapping presents one year. Kids were in grammar. No. My oldest son might have been in high school. So, you know, I don't know, a year graduate, but it was a double-digit years ago. And we're wrapping presents, and I got the under, and everything's great. And the next thing I know, you know that play where they run the halfback option, right? And they hand off to the fullback, and he gets 4 yards. This guy kept going. He ran like 78 yards and beat me. That caused me to lose an under bet. Under bets are just hard.
They're brutal. Yeah. It's almost like you're cheering for a boring game, you know?
Yeah, exactly. How about you, Blackhawk Wes?
I'm with John. If I was going to lay action, it would be on Army. But this is a hard one because Army's defense is really good and they take the ball away. And so, like, looking at Army this year, there's been so many games where I've bet on Army first half over or Army Q1 over, and they've cashed me so many of these little plays. You know, Army over 13.5 first half, and they put 21 on the board against a team that doesn't know how to defend the run. So I struggle with.
They've scored a touchdown in the first quarter in every single one, and that 21-point game was Bucknell. But here's the stat for Army's defense. Army played Wake Forest at the end of October. Wake Forest, pretty good club, right? But Wake Forest is playing in the ACC. That's better than what Army plays in.
Correct.
They beat them 70-56. Since that game, they put up 70 on them. Since that game, in the 4 games since then, Army's defense has given up a total of 57.
Wow.
Think about that. So they gave up 70 to Wake, and they've given up 50
to one team, and then 57 the next games, huh? Yeah.
All right, so let's do this. Let's show this banner. This is check out Harrison on an Instagram at Combat Complex. He's a combat fighter, handicapper, and what we're going to do is we're going to go listen to him and see what he says about the second fight on Saturday. All right, welcome back, Harrison. We're talking about the next fight on the UFC card that we're covering, which is Kai Kara France, Cody Garbrandt. And according to my book, it says that Kai Kara is the dog. Why can he win?
He can win because he has the better head coach in Eugene Behrman. Eugene Behrman's the coach for Israel Adesanya. He's the coach for other fighters who are very good, and he coaches his fighters well. And what I mean by that is I think he's going to give Kai Kara France a game plan that's defensively responsible and a game plan that puts Cody Garbrandt on his back foot. So I think he's going to be more likely to mix it up more with the striking and the grappling rather than being one-dimensional. So that's why I give Garbrandt Kai France a chance in this fight.
All right, so Cody Garbrandt is the favorite. Why should he win?
He's the slight favorite because I think he has better hands. He has more power in his hands, and he also has better hand speed. In addition to that, he has better head movement, and he's a better grappler than Kai France. However, I'm not anticipating Cody to really look to grapple. Cody just came off a loss against a bantamweight in Rob Font, who's a much bigger puncher than Kai France. So I don't really have questions about Cody Garbrandt's durability. This is a new division for him, but I think he's the more skilled fighter. And assuming he's not a shell of himself, he should be able to edge out a solid fighter in Kai France.
What's your bet?
I'm going with Cody Garbrandt by decision. But I think there's value in this fight going past 2 rounds and starting the 3rd round bell.
There you go. All right, we'll talk to you again soon. All right, so you know what? Our show that we had when we were doing our UFC coverage was Will Go, Won't Go weekly. And the reason we did that is because so many times with these UFC fights, the lines are crazy, minus 400, minus 380, that kind of stuff, you know, and it's obviously the better fighter. And could you have an upset and win at 1,100, 1,200? Of course you could, and it happens, but you're not going to make a living. Right, guys? Would you both agree you're not going to make a living betting plus 1,200 very often, you know? And they're 1,200 for a reason. And so the will go, won't goes, I like those, and I like the way this guy's going. But have you ever heard somebody say about a combat fight that he was leaning towards the coaching? I've never heard that before. I mean, I've had a lot of guys talk to me about fighting, boxing, mixed martial arts, the whole world. I've never had somebody say it was all about coaching, but I don't know if you guys heard him say defensively responsible. Did you hear that?
Yep.
Had you heard it before?
Not necessarily using.
I don't think I've ever heard someone describe a coach as being defensively responsible. I think it's a little too much to tattoo on the inside of my arm here. I like defensively responsible. Okay, so let's do this. Let's get an update on our live action Blackhawk West. What's happening with the hockey game?
It's another St. Louis power play. Detroit can't stay out of the box. So we got 4 minutes to go about in the period, about 30 seconds left in the power play. So it's not looking great for the P1.
Well, again, I got the over, so I need a goal. I'll take it anywhere I can get it right now. We still got the 2.5 over for the game as well for Detroit. What about that Purdue game? Any update there, John, from GMF Sports Consultant?
I kind of stopped watching that Purdue game. I missed the score on that because I'm kind of locked into this NFL game here now, so I don't have an update.
We kicked off on the NFL game, right?
Yeah. So we kicked off. Right now, there's 8 minutes in the first. Pittsburgh has the ball in Minnesota territory. They're driving. They're borderline field goal. Well, yeah, they're at field goal. They're at the 30 right now. We're first down. So hopefully we can get at least some type of score here. I'll take a touchdown or even a field goal because, like I said, we need 10. So
yeah, we got the over. So
yeah,
we're looking good there.
Exactly.
Purdue is up. They've outscored them in the second half 17-8.
Wow.
That's right where I need them to be. So that's probably scores a little behind because I'm using websites that don't have sound, so they don't pitch to our audience. Okay, so what do we've got? So Wes, did you are you definitely playing Winnipeg?
This weekend CFL, I'm playing Winnipeg for sure. It's 3.5, depending on where you put it, but I like it to be a touchdown game.
So before we get off the air tonight, we got to cover the Iowa and the Winnipeg Jets game, right? Those are the 2 games we're going to be looking at. They haven't started. They're not starting for about 20 minutes or so. So we got plenty of stuff to keep us busy. We got a football game to keep us busy. We got a college basketball game to keep us busy. And we have a NHL hockey game to keep us busy. So let's have you guys start filling
a hockey game that you just cashed on because the Blues just popped a goal in.
So it's 2-0. Take it.
It's 2-0. You just cashed.
All right, good. So don't get me wrong. I'm very thankful to cash, but, I'm not shocked to cash. It wasn't my play. Blackhawk West told me that there's a goalie that's going to give up goals, and whenever he does that, the over hits, so I just bet the over. They really got All right, so let's talk about the circa. Let's start with John. John, I think you had a little few weeks where it was rocky, but everybody does in that contest, and you were rocking the same weeks other people were rocking, which is sometimes good because if everybody else is losing, you might as well lose too. Where are you right now?
Yes. So right now, I'm actually still tied. I'm in the upper 50s. I believe I'm tied for 40th spot, which is good. There's a ton of people still tied. I have to go through the listing and see all the ties and everything. But I'm in the top 50 with a whole bunch of other people. I'm 42, 22, and we got the one push, which is pretty good. So I'm right there in the mix. If I can stay in that top 100 here within the next couple of weeks, I think I'll be happy with that. And it's the top 50 cashes. So obviously I got to stay where we're at to see some type of money back.
All right. So what about you, Blackhawk West?
I am, there's tiers, and I'm tied at 979th, but that's like truly being in 8th place. So there's just a lot of people tied in the same places. So I've been steady. People. I've been steady. Yeah, I've been steady Eddie with my 3-2 pretty much every single week.
What the record is right now?
36 and 24.
Nice.
You guys between you are 88 and 40 something. I mean, think about that. 88 and 40 something against the spread. That's why you guys are on the radio. That's why you guys are on the radio.
And like going back before, I had two horrible blow up weeks, which are terrible. But I think no matter who you are, especially if you're a professional capper, if you play NFL, and I tell this to everybody, you're gonna have these 2 weeks where everything just goes wrong. There's no escaping that. I don't really care how good you are. So I'm hoping that I got that behind me, and now we can move forward. And just if I could stay right in that 3-2 range where West has continued to stay steady at, I'll be happy with that, and we'll see. Kind of hopefully somebody else has some bad weeks.
Yeah, and really, the key to betting is when you're having those bad weeks, not to get to do something stupid, to not to chase. Sometimes you just gotta say, okay, you know what?
Yep,
I'm done. Well, you got to walk away. Buying in, to use a poker term, rebuying in is not always the smartest move. Sometimes it ain't the cards. Sometimes you're just not seeing it right. I talk about it all the time. Before we go to break, I talk about it all the time, Wes, with the horse racing. That first race is crucial to me, not because I like to win the first race, even though I tell my wife the first race and the last race are always the most important. The first race, now you're playing with the house money. But the last race, you could at least take your date to dinner. If you go to the horse track with your date and you don't have any money left, you don't usually get another. I'll tell you that.
You got to get at least a cheeseburger on the way out or something.
Right, exactly. In and out. Baby.
Right.
That's out here, in and out's worth is a day. But the thing is, it means I'm seeing the racing form right. It means I'm reading the paper right, and that's really what it is. If you're wrong and you're just not seeing what's happening, you don't want to chase, because you could, like you said, John, you could have that one back week and lose 4 weeks of budget, of units.
Oh yeah, it can happen quick.
All right, so when we come back, we're going to check on our games. We'll get some updates from the guys. You're listening to Sports Betting Weekly. If it's about 8:45 in New York, you're live and you're cashing tickets as you speak. You might be hearing us on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, on the Sports Betting Channel, but either way, you're cashing tickets.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
At championshipfootballs.com, they offer a 100% money-back guarantee on every single souvenir football that they sell. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. There's nothing worse than trying to find the right gift for somebody that already has everything. Whether that special present is for a New England Patriots fan or an Ohio State Buckeyes backer. Maybe Gramps is a lifelong New York Giants supporter. Or your brother-in-law is a 12th man living in Seattle. Know a member of the Michigan State Alumni Association? Is there a better Father's Day gift for someone who's a Baltimore Ravens fan? Send them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Buffalo Bills or those Minnesota Vikings, well, they're sorry about that. Also, if you're a New Mexico State Aggies or Tulane Green Wave alumnus, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't nice effort, you had a pretty good season, footballs.com. The name is championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
Hey, this is an important message. I'm Second Half Chaz from Sports Betting Weekly. Sports betting is supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. If you're hurting yourself by gambling with money you don't have, check out our website for the Gamblers Anonymous phone number.
When Vince Young scored on 4th and 5 in the 2006 Rose Bowl, two things happened. The Texas Longhorns won the NCAA title, and ChampionshipFootballs.com was born. From Texas to Alabama to Ohio State, and now for Super Bowl winners too. ChampionshipFootballs.com is the place for the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, 10 years later, ChampionshipFootballs.com has the autographs too. See if any of these names remind you of a special time in your football life. Michael Bennett, Lou Holtz, Joe Montana, Devin Smith, Jameis Winston, Rocky Blyer, Rocket Ishmael, Ara Parsegian, Mike Stonebreaker, Chris Zorich, Luther Bradley, Todd Light, Tony Rice, Lawrence Taylor, Dave Casper, Marcus Mariota, Rudy Rudiger, David Tyree. Enter the promo code RADIO and you'll instantly save $50 on any of the ChampionshipFootballs.com autographed footballs. ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And actually, after us, the Loudmouths are on, so you always want to check out the Loudmouths. They've had some really, really great guests. Not even good guests. They've had great guests lately. What else we got? We got some live action. If you're listening on the podcast on Belly Up Sports Podcast Network or at the Sports Betting Channel or on sportsbettingweeklylive.com, you know what? Here's the thing. The live action probably ain't going to help you much because we've already taken the money and cashed it. I've got a wife. It's Christmas time. I don't even get the money. The money goes with somebody else. But next time you see we're going to be on a Thursday, you should probably grab some money. And I think I said that online. Put some money in your account and tune in because we cash tickets. It's what we do. So where we're at now is I've got that parlay I put in with the two teams that I liked. I liked Purdue in the second half. They're up by 11. And then I got John liked the score. I thought Minnesota scored, so I'm going to go with the over there. So, John, NFL update.
We've had two missed field goals in the first 10 minutes of the game. Minnesota missed on the first possession, and then Pittsburgh just missed on a 49-yard field goal. Boswell was 24 out of 25, and, of course, he missed this one from inside the 50. So we are still at 0-0, but there's still 5 minutes left.
Minnesota inside?
Yeah, they both missed.
What am I missing here?
I know. I have no idea. And both of them were pretty. The guy from Minnesota, I don't know his name, but that one was a 53-yarder. Boswell had a 40-something yarder, 49-yarder, and both of them missed. So
you know what? I remember that I remember that liquored up kickers. Liquored up kickers.
What was that? Manning and what was that guy's name? Wasn't his name Yeager something? I don't know.
I don't remember. Yeah. All right. So here's where we're at. We are we're gonna kind of finish up with the show, and I think we got one more clip, right? We got one more clip from Harrison Hughes, who's talking to us this week about UFC 269 Saturday night. Now, the one thing, and John mentioned that, if you're at a party that's got it on, these are pay-per-view events. So the crowd is usually there is a UFC crowd, and they're and it's really it's brutal. It's brutal. I mean, it's Ultimate Fighting Championship. It is brutal. You've got a serious amount of blood usually. You've got injuries. The hardest part for me is watching those guys just get kicked over and over, because you know what? They'll spend 3 rounds kicking them in the same spot just to piss them off. And then all of a sudden they do a fake and they do a roundabout. You got to admit, they're an incredible athletic group, these fighters, the things they do, the mixed martial artists. So let's go out to Harrison Hughes and see what he says about the what do they call it? The main, what do they call it? What's that guy say?
That would be the main. So they have like the main card, which are normally like the top 3 tiers of the fight. And I guess this would be the main event. I guess it was probably the Poirier Oliveira fight. I think that's the main one.
All right, let's see what he says. All right. Harrison, thanks again for joining us. You know what? We're talking about the main event, 269, Charles Oliveira and Dustin Poirier. And you know what? I've talked about UFC before. It's like talking hockey sometimes because you can't pronounce their names, but I love the Du Bronx and the Diamond, so I could go by that. The underdog is Du Bronx. How could he win?
Du Bronx is the more technically sound fighter. His punches look crisp. He does a good job at guarding himself. And Du Bronx, Charles Oliveira, has more tools in his box to win the fight. What I mean by that is he can end the fight on the feet by outstriking Dustin Poirier. He can out-wrestle Dustin Poirier to a decision because of his ability to close the distance. And he can also submit Dustin Poirier. Charles Oliveira is he has a large amount of finishes in the UFC, a lot of those coming by submission. So he has more ways to win the fight than Dustin Poirier, but I have questions about his durability. So this is a live bettor's dream if they're betting on this fight.
Yeah, without a doubt, 90% of his fights don't involve the judges. So what about the favorite? Why should Dustin win?
Dustin Poirier, he's more durable. He can take punches, and he's good at defensive grappling. What I mean by that is when Charles is looking to take Poirier to the ground, it's not going to be without resistance. Poirier has fought against Khabib, and although he lost the fight, he showed an aptitude for defensive grappling and positioning. So overall, I think Poirier will eventually wear down Charles Oliveira and start to punish him to the body. He's defensively sound enough on the feet to guard against Charles's strikes, and he's good enough defensively in the grappling exchanges to keep from going to the ground. So overall, I think that wears on Charles, and Dustin Poirier is going to be able to impose his will. And
we've got 2 guys here in their last 16 fights are 15-1. So these guys are winners. They're not afraid to win. The question I have for you is, what is your play?
I'm going with Dustin Poirier to get the finish. I think Charles Oliveira is still fragile, and he's going against the most durable fighter in the division, the fighter who's the most war-proven in the division. In addition to that, I don't think Charles's skill, his technical prowess, is going to overwhelm Dustin. The gap isn't that significant for Dustin just to be outmatched on the feet. So that's why I give Dustin the edge in a very close fight that ends before the judges can make a decision.
Well, there you go. He likes Dustin, and he likes it to be over before it goes to the judges. And the bottom line is, I've got myself a nice little 3-player parlay for UFC 69. So
there you go.
All right. So let me confirm, John from GMF Sports Consultants, that we're going to go till 6 o'clock here.
All right.
6 p.m. Let me see. So 6 p.m. With New York, so we know that we're on the same page. So what happened in the football game?
Minnesota scored, so we got 6.
They missed the extra point.
They did miss the extra point.
They have missed 7 points already.
So it's technically 7 points. We got 2 missed field goals, makeable field goals, and an extra point. And we're inside in this dome-esque Minnesota atmosphere. So yeah, so that's 7 points off the board.
We have seen that, right? As soon as they moved that extra point back, it really changed the worlds of extra points. It really did.
And I think this year, man, it's been unbelievable the amount that has been missed on a regular basis. You know, I've said it in a group chat before. The kickers, man, they got one job, right? You think you would be able to make that? It's kind of like hitting a free throw, I think.
Right. Yeah. We had that one Sunday where we started counting them, and it was like 7 or 8 or 9.
It was unbelievable. Yeah. And when you got action on it, those points count. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I got 21.5, right? So I got the Purdue bet is going well. I got it hooked up to Pittsburgh. Now I got them straight, but parlay pays more than straight bets.
Exactly.
So, when I'm chasing 21.5, I'm going to end up, if they score 2 more touchdowns, it's going to be sitting at 20.
20, yeah.
Missed kicks,
Yep.
Brutal. All right, so we lost Blackhawk West. Not sure if he is coming back, but let's talk about this week's plays. Where are you on your NFL plays for your Circa contest? Now, again, if you missed out, he's sitting 20 games over 500. He's 42,
Correct.
22-1.
Correct.
But if that shocks you about John from GF that you must have just beamed down from another planet, because that's what he does.
Yeah, we've done these contests before. I've done some with other websites, other pages. So I'm familiar with how these work and everything like that. I just like the thrill of doing it and seeing how you stack up. This week I'm kind of going through it, but I got 2 that I am going to lock in. So the first one is going to be the 49ers versus the Bengals. And I actually like the 49ers this week. It looks like Burrow's going to have some hand injury issues, and that played a big factor in last week's game. I know 49ers are coming off a big disappointment, but I liked them to rebound here. And then the next game is going to be Detroit. I actually like Detroit. Even though they just won their first game last week, they've been competitive if you watch them, and they're getting 10 points here. So I'm going to stick with Detroit. I think they're going to build off that win, and I hope they keep it close. So I like those 2 plays, and I'll kind of iron out the rest of the 3 of them. They
played well. They played well in that W. There's no doubt about it,
Yep. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And besides maybe a handful of games, there's numerous games where they've missed a kick or they had a chance to win or something didn't go right in these games. So, I think
John, I think they did what losers do. Losers find ways to lose.
To lose, exactly. That's as kind of cliche as that sounds, that's exactly how it goes in the NFL. And I'm actually thinking that maybe this win changes them. Now, I'm not saying Detroit's going to win outright here, but I think they're going to be able to keep it close. I think that's a big number for them. I know Denver's playing in Denver, but they're coming off kind of a lackluster week last week too. So I don't really have much confidence in them moving forward. I'm going to take the points here. I think they're going to build on that moving forward. Don't be surprised if you see Detroit maybe sneak another one here or there. So I feel comfortable laying the points with those 2 right now.
Yeah, that was the most points they scored in a long time.
In a long time, yeah.
On the road,
it was a good game.
If you like Detroit in that game, you got to be leaning under too, because if Detroit's going to win that game, they're not going to. I don't think they're going to outscore them.
Yeah. No, I look for Denver to Denver's having some injury issues too on their end. Melvin Gordon is kind of questionable. I'm not sure if he's going to play. They do have another very talented back who I think last week had 170 something plus yards, so I think they're going to lean on him a little bit more. Kind of seemed like they abandoned the running game a little bit with Teddy Bridgewater. I don't know how much confidence they have with him moving forward. Denver, obviously they made some changes in personnel with the defense. They let Miller go. They let some pieces go. So I'm not sure exactly what their state of mind is. Like I said, I think this is a lot of points, versus a hungry Detroit team who shows the capability of being able to stay in these games. And they're coming off their first win. I think that momentum will carry that locker room and at least keep it close.
Yeah, 10 points is just screams backdoor cover.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, give me that last second touchdown or whatever. Like I said, especially for I know it's tough to play in Denver, but Denver they looked terrible last week. So I feel
and that quarterback. Don't get me wrong. The Rams jettison. He did get him to a Super Bowl, and he's not an elite quarterback, but he's better than most quarterbacks in the league. I would say he's got to be in the top 50 percentile.
Correct. Yep.
Here's an easy sports data tidbit on that San Francisco. In the first half, in their last 7 games, they've gone over 6-0-1. So 1 push, 6 overs. But on the road in the second half, they're on the road, right, this week?
Yeah, they're on the road. Yep.
They're allowing 9 points or less in 5 straight games. It's kind of hard to lose a game, John, when you give up 9 points in 30 minutes.
That's right. That's right. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, they've also got some key pieces back too. Now I know last week they looked absolutely horrendous in a game. Probably most people had them winning. But I think Kittle's going to be there. I think they're going to be able to grind the ball against Cincinnati, and I think this Burrow, the pinky, whatever finger, I think it's his pinky. It affects the way how you throw the ball because how that ball is leaving, and it showed it. That was, I think, statistically one of the worst games that he had last week when he got that injury. And
again, you see it all the time when they smash their hands on the helmet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Well, that's, I think,
think about your fingers. If you get a paper cut, you get a paper cut on your finger about 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think that's going to play, and you see Cincinnati kind of regressed. I think these last couple weeks, and I think this is a line where if you're just looking at the line, you're going to say, no way, San Francisco is going to win this game. And I'm going that way just because of that. I like them here in this spot. So yeah, I feel comfortable with that. So I hope that they get some big plays for Cincinnati. Obviously, the injury is going to play a big part in that.
No doubt about it. All right, before we head off and let the loudmouths join the network,
nice.
Tell the people how they can find you.
They can get a hold of me. Probably social media is the best place to do it. Instagram, GMF_sports_consultants. Should be able to type it in, pull me right up. You can also find me on Facebook.
Yep. GMF_sports_consultants.
That's it. It's a lot of letters, but I should pop up. We should start typing.
Whoa, it's the ROI.
Yeah.
You type that in on social media, the ROI for John. Again, I'm just going to say 20 games over 500 week 13. That's not bad.
Women lie, men lie. Numbers don't lie, right?
That's it, baby. Again, thanks for listening. Do me a favor. Always be cashing.
Always be cashing. Have a good night. Thank you.